Hi, welcome back to the Event House channel, your home for all things hospitality. I'm your host, Jill Goldfine. Today's video is so special because we are talking about all things hybrid. As so many people are ready to travel, there are still plenty whose comfort levels aren't quite there yet. This video shares our conversation with Jade Minter of Encore Audiovisual, and definitely stay tuned for some highlights of tips for executing your own successful hybrid meeting. So, let's get started. Please join me for this insightful conversation on hybrid meetings with Jade Minter from Encore. We'll talk about social versus corporate, timeline planning, involvement, and budgeting. Hi, Jade. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Can you please start with telling our audience about your professional background?
So I got involved in hospitality, I want to say back in 2008 when I worked as a server, room service, bartender, banquets, front desk, really threw myself into the hotel atmosphere. And I eventually made my way to formerly known as PSAV. I started off as a sales coordinator and then moved my way into a sales manager after 8 months. I was a sales manager handling exhibits, affiliates, and small events. Then, after about a year and a half, moved into more medium and large events. And after 3 years of being in that role, I was promoted to a senior sales manager.
Tell me, so you are at a particular specific hotel, or are you with Encore Corporate?
So pre-COVID, I was assigned to Marriott Wardman Park in
Okay.
DC.
Uh-huh.
And then post-COVID, now I kind of oversee a couple different hotels.
As we now dive in, I'd like you to address maybe what you're seeing as differences between social and personal hybrid events versus corporate hybrid meetings.
So when you look at the two elements by themselves, right? They, just like previously, they still have their own objectives. So social's still going to remain social, corporate's still going to remain corporate. But you start looking at the main elements that make a hybrid event, and they're pretty standard across the board. It's just whether or not, what type of size and scale are you looking for? And it does allow for more creativity. So just like before you were able to customize your event, well, having that virtual piece added to your hybrid allows you to get even more creative. And depending on what type of event you're looking at, so say maybe social, you're maybe looking for something more intimate. Maybe you don't need a really robust platform. One thing is Encore has been doing this for over 10 years. With that, we've learned the 6 key drivers that make a hybrid event successful. And that's going to be environment, experience, engagement, connectivity, content, and production.
Can you tell me about the timeline for planners, either social or corporate planners? How do the timeline estimates differ or change in this kind of an environment?
Depending on what virtual platform you're utilizing for your hybrid event, anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. More time, of course, is always better.
Yes.
You really need to look at it as you planning 2 separate events instead of one event.
Okay.
So you want to look at what's your in-person experience going to be like, just like with the environment, right? How we're used to saying, okay, we're going to pick a hotel, we're going to pick this room, we're going to want drape, maybe we hire a decorator, or you really focus on what that experience is for the in-person, right?
Yes.
You're going to want to do that same thing for your virtual attendees, because you really want to focus on engagement. Engagement's the thing that's going to tie the two events together, and you also want to keep your message consistent across. That way there's no confusion between the two
Audiences.
Audiences, yes. Thank you.
And are you seeing planners getting involved in the process in any kind of different ways than they have been in the past for a regular in-person meeting?
Absolutely. back to that whole timeline, right?
Mhm.
Getting involved earlier in the process. They're taking on so many different roles and just really throwing themselves into it because unfortunately, just like a lot of companies during COVID have made some cutbacks, these meeting planners are facing the same obstacles as well.
I think this is so new for so many planners that often we don't know the right questions to even ask. We don't know
Yeah.
what we don't know. So we rely on your team to sort of guide us through, oftentimes in maybe ways that we haven't had to rely on.
One thing that comes to mind, which I'm seeing a lot right now, is everyone's wanting to learn more about hybrid and what that looks like because not everyone's done a hybrid event.
How does Encore work with planners to manage expectations, minimize surprises, things like that for the budgeting process?
Great question. So we've realized that having a hybrid event, that the cost per attendee is often equal to or less to an equivalent in-person event. You got to look at the whole scope of the event, right? And instead of before you just kind of had your separate budgets. Now, when you're making your budgets, you have a little bit more flexibility because maybe you're not going to have the same number of in-person attendees you would have as you would pre-COVID. So say
Right.
you're having a meeting of 50 people, maybe it's more going to look like 25 people in person and 25 people virtually. Or maybe it's even more virtually because we've noticed that having that virtual component is adding increased audience size that hasn't been seen prior to COVID.
That's
Um,
true. That's an
so
excellent point.
you got to really look at the pros and cons and again the event as a whole and say, all right, well, my food and beverage isn't going to be as much because I don't have that extra 25 people,
Mhm.
but I gained maybe another 25 people in a market that you've never been able to attack before.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
And one more thing is sponsorships. We're seeing sponsorships like they've never been tapped before as well, because maybe during those dates weren't working for that particular client, right? So they couldn't partner with you. Well, now having that virtual piece, they can contribute to the sponsorship program that maybe your company has.
People are always looking for extra revenue streams. Yeah. Okay.
Precisely.
Yeah. Oh, well, that has been so helpful. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate your time and expertise and thank you for participating in our interview here.
Yes, thank you for having me. It was certainly a pleasure.
Thanks again to Jade Minter for helping us get comfortable with hybrid meetings. If you would like to learn more about how the Encore team can help with your meetings, please reach out to Event House and we'll put you in touch with Jade. Up next, we have some fun quick tips for hybrid meetings. Tip number 1. Single event with 2 experiences. One size does not fit all in this kind of an environment. Have a plan to engage with every attendee. Find a balance between in-person and online participants, keeping in mind both types of audiences. This will be a true collaboration between the meeting planner, venue, and the AV company. Tip number 2, advance materials on safety. As people are deciding how they'd prefer to participate, provide everyone with a clear message of your attention and dedication to all safety protocols that will be in place on site, both by the host as well as the venue. Show exactly how the room will be set up to accommodate for distancing, and list all the pandemic compliance measures that will be in place: sanitization stations, temperature checks, mask requirements, plexiglass shields, etc. Also, explain how food and breaks will be presented safely. A message from the venue's general manager is a personal touch that can explain the cleaning procedures that are in place. Tip number 3, flexible registration. Since people have different comfort levels with in-person meetings right now, be flexible with registration deadlines, cancellations, and refunds. They may appreciate getting a credit towards future meetings or an a la carte session option. Tip number 4, dedicate a host. An MC for your event will make a big impact in melding the experiences for your online and in-person attendees. The host can monitor questions from both screens and tables. Tip number 5, use the right technology. You'll be working very closely with your venue and AV company to ensure technology runs smoothly. Use large screens and maybe multiple screens to showcase the attendees who are joining online and allow for plenty of Wi-Fi bandwidth to accommodate the in-person attendees as well as for those streaming online. Test all technology every time. Tip number 6, network breaks. We all need to take breaks during a packed agenda. Both audiences can have equal networking opportunities at the same time. Encourage on-site attendees to join the Zoom online during breaks and meals so everyone can be in breakout rooms together. Open these rooms for 10 to 12 people each, just as they would be sitting at a banquet table together. This is also a good time to utilize social media. Set up a Facebook group or custom hashtag for this meeting so attendees can post pictures, questions, and comments related to this event. Tip number 7, think unconventionally. Hybrid meetings are definitely unconventional, so if your event allows, consider hosting in a space other than a hotel ballroom. Covered outdoor spaces provide fresh air and allow for large screens to be seen. Lounge furniture with individual tables can be brought in to accommodate alternate seating options while maintaining safe distances. Tip number 8, equal experiences for all. Bridge the different locations so all attendees are included in the full event experience. Some ideas are a group lunch, coffee sampling, yoga, and a cooking demo. Send boxes with branded and sponsored items that are relevant to the social activities. You can partner with Event House to brainstorm additional ideas. We hope you found some great takeaways from Jade Minter as well as our hybrid meeting tips. Are you planning a hybrid meeting? Have you already executed a successful hybrid meeting? Please let us know in the comments below. We want to hear from you.